Saphyre recently launched an initiative called Project Zero to help Wall Street firms prepare for the transition to T+1 trading, which will fully go into effect in the financial markets in May of next year. With me is Gabino Roche, the CEO of Saphyre, to explain about this transition. What is T+1? To explain everything. Let's start with that. What does this mean for the markets and what is it?
Well, at Saphyre, we're calling it Saphyre's Project Zero because the move is moving from T, meaning trade, +2, 48 hours after the trade, to T+1 in the US and Canadian market, which is, the US and Canadian markets are global markets essentially, so it's actually going to have an impact globally. You may have heard India's moved to T+1, but that's been very regional based. In this case, now that the United States and Canada will start doing this in May of next year, you got to go from 48 hours to settle a trade to 24 hours to settle a trade. But at Saphyre, we're saying to ourselves, well, why just 24 hours? Why not T0, right, in real time? So hence the project's name called Project Zero, to help firms really streamline their processes to get this all to be as real time as possible.
So this has impact for both the consumer or stock buyer as well as these Wall Street firms.
Yeah.
It sounds like the whole process is going to go faster.
It should.
Yeah.
So, I mean, to give you a sense of what happens today is most of these banks or brokers are using offshore teams, processes that normally you could accept take 48 hours to settle a trade. Now they're going to be forced to crunch these 48 hours of activities into 24 hours. And when you offshore those teams, they're in a different time zone. So you can't wait 24 hours for them to resolve issues or settle those trades. It's got to be faster than that. Okay.
And so now explain what Saphyre is doing then to help that whole process.
Yeah, so first I appreciate you having me on again.
Yeah,
last time I was here, I talked about how Saphyre was helping firms really get their accounts set up and maintained before trading. And what happens, I want you to imagine like a river with tributaries, right? If a trade starts at the source of the river and then when it finally lands, maybe it's some little tributary downstream, there are different account IDs throughout that entire life cycle, right? There's the broker trading account number, there's the investment manager's account ID, there's the asset owner behind it, the global custodian account number, and so on. And there's a lot more, the trading platforms. Because Saphyre's created a Rosetta Stone mapping of these account IDs before you even trade, now we're enriching it in post-trade. So as opposed to just working backwards and looking at the trades at the tributaries, now you can get everything from the source, you understand the whole process end to end. And then what we're doing is in real time creating a user interface where different firms can resolve trade exceptions in real time. So today, a bank, if they have an issue in settling a trade, they get it on the phone.
Yeah.
They send an email and they share spreadsheets because you have your laptop at home, I have my laptop, but we can't see each other, so we got to send spreadsheets to compare.
Okay.
Saphyre's creating a single record in the cloud, so all parties see the same information at the same time. So when you're talking about T+1, now you're taking an activity to hours, if not days, to minutes.
Yeah. Now, I remember there was some artificial intelligence involved too that you were using as well.
Yeah, it's more automated intelligence in some cases. In other cases, we actually read legal agreements with artificial intelligence, where we actually pull out terms. So I'll give you an example. If you set up an ISDA or GIMRA or whatnot, you may say if you drop 20% on a fund in a given day, that's a termination event, meaning your counterparty may not trade with you. But you could be doing a block trade, and then you're allocating to like 10 different mini accounts, and one of those accounts hit that threshold. You don't know it today. You actually will process it. And Saphyre now will tell these firms, both on the buy and sell side, in real time, hey, you've hit this termination event where artificial intelligence was used to extrapolate those terms, and now we're automating that process.
Yeah, and some of the biggest Wall Street firms are your customers as well. So how are they handling and thinking about this transition?
Yeah, so I think now in the US market, I think it's like you have until 7 p.m. Eastern to actually submit the trades, and then I think 9 p.m. to affirm them and whatnot. So if you have a trading issue at 5 p.m., you got 2 hours to solve for this. So I think part of it is they're setting up teams to work globally. So if you have a team in Europe, right, you got to keep them on late to handle the US hours. I think initially there's going to be a lot of labor that's thrown at this, but that's not sustainable. You're going to, especially given inflation, offshoring the stuff also is not sustainable because that makes it undesirable, and the time zone differences also. So I think what they're looking at is, can we pull technology to make this innovative, to make this more streamlined, make it real time? I think that's where we come in. There's a bunch of other solutions as well, but we are uniquely positioned for the things that I mentioned here.
Okay, and so we've got T+1. You talked about T+0. Is that feasible anytime in the near future?
It is, and I think part of what's happened is that the people don't necessarily know this on the street. I didn't know this till I started working in the industry, but the market infrastructure in finance is old. It is, I will say humbly, when I started working in this space, I used to think, oh, this is the Google and Apple of finance, but the infrastructure is actually very disparate, not connected. So this needs to evolve. I think what Saphyre is doing the homework step, the stepping stones to getting this to be real time. And one of the stumbling blocks to getting to T0 is something called netting. So hey, if I'm Bank A and I did trades with customers for several other banks, I don't want to do it on a per transaction. I may say, hey, for today, I owe you Bank B, 20 million in trades, and I just do one transaction, I pay one fee, right? So that, because if you're going to do real time, you now have to do it at the atomic level and do these trades. But if you're able to automate it, the whole, you could potentially make an argument that the savings you thought you were getting with netting is actually netted out with real-time automated technology, especially if you upgrade the infrastructure. So that's what blockchain wants to do. Blockchain can't do it because there are multiple blockchains, and not everyone adopts the same one. So I think this is where Saphyre is helping these big firms adopt the homework step technology so they can adopt any blockchain. And even if you do it whether on Saphyre or blockchain, you still have to move a physical security. So if you buy a stock, there's a stock certificate, it's in your account in some box somewhere. Someone has to physically take it out and move it to the other bank if you sold it, right? So that activity doesn't get taken care of by blockchain. Blockchain just is a receipt that it's supposed to happen. And again, this is stuff that, again, Saphyre is going to help where firms understand where to move these assets.
Okay, interesting. So May of next year, we're in September. What happens between now and then?
I think, look, most of the financial institutions in September and October are budgeting for their new year. So they're all making the decisions now, of which Saphyre is a part of it. And the idea is, okay, can we start testing these solutions and how fast can we implement? And in parallel, I think what they're doing is hedging their bets and creating a new operation model to handle an emergency case, right? And maybe right after, May 28, 2024, for the next few months into the summer, they may have a high level of labor going into that, but then they're going to look to reduce that. And once they understand how the market actually works, because you want to be prepared for anything. But in the meantime, it's like, what's real technologies that can work? And I think Saphyre is well positioned to say, yeah, we're one of those, and we're already got several of these major firms. Not allowed to say who yet, but you'll trust me, we will be making announcements around this. And I think that's going to be a competitive edge, because if you can tell firms not that you're just ready for T+1, but you're getting ready to T0, and that maybe you can automate things, lower your fees, drive more volume, that's something that you'll have head and shoulders above the rest. Yeah, very interesting. Well, I hope you come back and kind of update us as this gets closer next May. So thanks for having me again.
Thanks so much, Gabino.
I appreciate it.
Thanks.